And is that what you would like to do, Becky, for this?
Generally, I think we hear from the proponents and opponents and then deliberate based on what they said and go through your questions. Of course, you said Mr. Wingate is here. He's actually the applicant or one of the owners of the property. If he wants to briefly speak about the request for rezoning. Now, it is important to understand you're not here for plan approval. You're here for a recommendation to mayor and council to vote on with regard to the rezoning request.
Mr. Wingate, would you like to speak?
Yes, sir, I will.
Okay. You're welcome to just come up here.
First off, I'd like to say good evening. My name is Dylan Wingate, owner and operator at WCH Homes. We are proposing rezoning of the land on Highway 41 and Dunbar Road to the annexation of, from R1 to R2A. We plan to put homes on this site, make it a very unique development. We have taken...
Let me correct, it's not R2A, it's R2.
I'm R2, I apologize. We have taken all the adequate measures to ensure that the items that the city and county have asked us about are being taken care of in the right way, and that we do this development in the best way possible we can that suits everyone around it as well. We look forward to it, and thank you all for having me this evening. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Would anyone else like to speak on behalf of the... Are there any opponents to the... Okay. Sir, would you like to come up and
Sure.
talk to us?
Yeah. My name is Mike Kensall. I reside at 301 Mary Sue Lane, Warner Robins. I do not live in the city of Centerville, at least not yet. As far as Mr. Wingate, is it? Okay. I have no problem at all with his aspirations for development. My only concern about the development is density. As I understand it, the lots will be 60 feet wide as an R2. I'm concerned about the density. I have friends that live in the subdivision that's still underdeveloped to the south of the property where he's purchased. As I understand it, this zoned R2. On nights and weekends, it's like driving through a slalom course. The lots are so small. Most everybody's garages are filled with stuff. Their cars are in the driveway and out on the road. And it's a maneuver just to get through to visit people. I would like for the zoning to be changed to R1 just to give more room for people to get their cars off the street, into the yard, into the garage. Or maybe a compromise of having a tiered R1 and R2 arrangement. But that's my only concern. I don't have any problem with development. You know, that's not an issue for me at all. It's just, it's so dense. That's my concern.
So would you like to...
My name is Will Vinson. I live at 1209 North Houston Lake Boulevard. And my mom lives at 1205 North Houston Lake Boulevard. It's been a family farm for over 100 years or so. I have a pecan orchard across the street from where the development's going to be. And I also agree with Mike that the density is going to be it's going to change the whole atmosphere of the area where we live as far as, traffic. And they've already had to widen up Dunbar Road because there was no shoulders. Now there's some shoulder, but very little. So I'm just concerned about the traffic and it going from, farm area to more dense, subdivision type area. So I agree with pretty much everything Mike said as well.
Hi, my name is Millie Sapp. I live at 1018 North Houston Lake Boulevard, and like Mike and Will, we lived in that neighborhood for over 60 years, and it's always been a rural neighborhood, and we are not against expansion at all. we would just, like Mike said, see this zoning change from R2 to R1 so that it is a little bit more conducive to the lots that we have, which are 2 acres and above. So again, we're not against expansion at all, but Old Stone Crossing that is directly across from my house right now, we were against that for the very reasons that we're seeing now. Those streets are so crowded with cars, especially on nights and weekends. And I just drove through there coming back over here, and they completely blocked the streets. I don't know if fire trucks had to get through there, or EMTs, or police, how they do it safely. And I'm worried about the children that are in that environment, because if they're out in the streets and those cars are blocking views, that's a huge danger. So again, we're not opposed to expansion. It's just we would love to see it as R1 and not R2.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to?
Hello, my name is Carolyn McKenzie. I live at 1209 Dunbar Road. Actually, my family has lived there ever since the 1800s. I've seen the expansion. I've seen it go from rural to what it is now. And when I really look at the houses being built there, I see just what I'm seeing now: more foot traffic, more criminal trespassing. The crime rate is going up. If you'll look at the analysis, the crime analysis, in reference to the amount of crime that has actually pretty much poured over into the Dunbar community, you will see what a community of housings will bring, because this is what happens. Individuals build their homes, and it's all about making money. Okay, I know people need a place to live, but they build all these houses and then they're gone. And then it's the Dunbar community that is left with all the crime, all the criminal trespassing, all the foot traffic.
I mean, you're deciding to make a recommendation for approval conditions, or denial.
Will the zoning decision result in, well, actually, I said that because it was pending tariff studies, traffic studies.
Okay.
The question was, will the zoning decision result in a use which will or could cause extensive or burdensome use of existing streets, transportation, facilities, utilities, or school? But that information would be based on the pending traffic studies that will be done as required by the county, the city, and the state. So,
What about the school situation? Where is that? That is in Houston County, right?
Yes.
That's also intermingled over there.
That's an house.
So,
doesn't affect us. So, no.
Direct question.
Yeah.
When you discussed traffic plans or studies, take a look at our neighborhood that we have right next to it, Old Stone Crossing, I think it is. So when they developed that was back during the market when it flopped, and they brought it back up, and I think Colonial Bank had most of that property. There's only one true entrance to all those houses, and that development's not done. They probably got a couple hundred acres in there, or at least 100 acres in there, to develop more houses. So they got really technically an illegal entrance on 41. There's no turn lane. In the development of that property, they bought my neighbor across the street. I live at 1100 next to Millie Sapp.
Yes, sir. Can you give us your name and
James
address?
Harrison,
Yes, sir. Thank you. And you're at 1100.
North Houston Lake.
Thank you.
So we're there when they're starting to develop the plan. The neighbors across the road were bought out by the developer so he could have access into Old Stone, into the old tree farm, state property, to develop Old Stone. Because at the time we were told it was going to cost him $1 million to put an entrance on 41 and move all those large power poles. Well, they since haven't done anything on 41 other than use a 2-lane entrance. It's really technically illegal. There's no turn lane. And I don't know how many wrecks they have over there, but you can look in our front yard when you go down Houston Lake Road, especially her yard, and you'll see the tire tracks where they've gone through her yard to avoid impact into the Old Stone entranceway. It's a regular occurrence into the ditch in front of our house. it's really unsafe. So when you say you're gonna do a road study, please do, because they still got more houses to go in there, and there's only one true entrance into Old Stone, and that's in front of our house. And it's really unsafe. There's a lot of traffic. Nope. I mean, you know, people nowadays, they're looking at the phone, and we've had several wrecks out there. So I just ask that if you're going to do studies, please do them, because I don't know where you're going to get the sewage from unless you come off the pumping station that's in Old Stone. But
This board doesn't make those decisions at all.
but you mentioned traffic plans,
I
so
can address that.
Yeah, I can assure you those issues are gonna be looked at,
okay. Thank you.
not only by the city, but the county and the state.
So currently, right now, we have a motion for an application for zoning of R2 for this piece of property. Additionally, as I stated earlier, the county has a property abutting adjacent to this. And they have a plot of lots that they have calculated out. There's 50 lots in this area. One of the things that I would consider recommending would be to use an R2 designation with conditions to meet R1 regulations for those properties butting up to the county's existing property that they have there. And those conditions would be something that we would be recommending that the developer consider in doing this.
So if I understand you right, the recommendation would be, if approved, for the rezoning to be approved for the city of Centerville R2, with the conditions that the bordering lots that border the county 1 through 50 would also be approved, but would be required to meet R1 regulations.
That is correct.
In the Centerville zone. That's your motion?
That's my motion.
Which would mean those lots would be required to be 90 foot wide instead of 60 foot wide.
That's correct.
I have a general question, Becky. So this is Houston County R1 to Centerville R2. Is this particular parcel annexed into the city?
The request, the application for annexation and rezoning, that's why we're considering here, we cannot just annex it and not rezone it, because it does not have a city of Centerville rezoning. The mayor and council will consider your recommendation on the rezoning simultaneously with their consideration of an ordinance to annex the property in. Okay?
Thank you.
I have a question on something. Is the county specifications or I'll call it specifications of R1 and R2 the same as the city of Centerville R1 and R2, or are they different?
The county's R1 regulations would require lots to be 100 foot wide, where in Centerville's they only require to be 90 foot wide. So there is a 10 foot difference.
And then the R2 goes down to 60.
Correct.
So what's
As long
being
as they're on
proposed
city sewer,
is
they
a
can go down to a
transition
minimum of 60
of
feet
larger
wide.
lots to smaller lots, a transition between the county R1 and the R2 smaller lots.
So your recommendation for the R1 would be the Centerville of 90 instead of the
Correct.
county? Okay.
Not the county.
That area being rural, there's no sewer out there right now, correct?
There will be. It'll be on city sanitation and sewer.
Well, that's one of the primary reasons, people do request for annexation in, because of not being able to get permits for septic tanks on those lots.
Anybody else have any questions, concerns?
So where exactly in the orange line that you're proposing to be R1?
Which lots?
They won't be R.
They would be R2, they would be zoned R2 with conditions. Mike will bring you a plat to show you.
You can rezone R2 and place conditions that the lots that they're talking about meet the R1 requirements and be the larger lots, which I believe is what you were maybe alluding to. Yes, sir.
How many lots is that?
50 lots.
50, okay.
It's significant.
50 lots there.
Do we have a copy of that?
Yes, absolutely. We should have an extra right up here. I mean, we can make you copies, but remember, this is a concept plan. It hasn't been approved.
Right, that'd be great if you just make some, we'll get marked up.
They're up here.
Can you kind of stand up there and maybe you can see it, kind of show this?
It's so small. I don't think anybody can see it. That's why. I
You're
mean,
welcome to walk up here and see it. Look.
here, let me just hand out a couple and y'all look at them.
Okay.
Now remember, this is a concept. This is not a final design
This is
plan, and it has not been submitted for final approval.
This is already done. This is already done. This is
Hold on, I gotta figure this out. You can see it right there. You know it's not. Oh, right. We're talking about all of these lots. But these lots that have big rate. Here's the thing.
No, we haven't.
Wait, I can make some more.
Okay, there we go. Oh, just go ahead.
Does anyone else have any additional questions?
One other thing. Yeah, just, the main thing I'm concerned, and I haven't really studied the map yet, the main thing I would be concerned with, getting back to the problem with cars in the road, would be at the entrances, you know, at least however far you determine, a block, 2 blocks back, those houses be R1, so there would not be so many cars where people are first coming into the subdivision and trying to get out of the subdivision. You know, just purely as a safety thing. Yeah, that would require a little bit more examination of those lots.
The developer is local?
Yes.
Yeah, because Dunbar has, 41 has always been a dangerous road. has always had a lot of risk from that way. And Dunbar and 41, right at that corner, right there, people don't know to go left or right, they just go straight across the road and run into that lady's fence and just damage her fence, always. They go straight across the road into somebody else's property. So, yeah, this is a lot.
As a developer, would you be interested in hearing some of these concerns and listening, taking some of these concerns back to you?
And I appreciate the feedback on everything to do with the density. Our main concern is quality and customer satisfaction. And I know, when they say cars on the road and everything, I know that can be an issue. We apply real strict covenants. We're different, when it comes to that. We're watching our neighborhoods all the time adequately because I don't like that kind of stuff to happen either. We like to have a clean environment when we're building homes, when we've got people moving into our developments. We try to make sure all that's cleaned up. We are taking adequate measures to make sure we're doing the traffic studies and everything to abide by the county's regulations of that, and just kind of making sure through the whole process that, cars are off the road. There's real strict covenants involved. There's only certain things that are going to be allowed in there. I know the neighborhood beside it, that was a concern, but that's something we do take very much pride in and make sure we put, kind of a strict wrap around everything to ensure that it's done the right way and it's done a real quick.
Homeowners association?
Sir?
Will you have a homeowners association?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. It's got that. It's got an adequate mailbox system in it where you drive through to your mailbox. It's got a small playground. It has got a very strict HOA. You won't be doing things you normally see in places that don't have one established. The two entrance ways are broken.